Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Andrew DeFreitas. He's from the Greater East Ohio Alzheimer's Association. And just before we move on, talking about just good brain health, ginkgo biloba, different things that we see, fish oil, anything to this?
Well, like I mentioned, there's no method of prevention, treatment, or cure. We've heard a lot of theories, and I definitely see a lot of news coverage of kind of the cure-all of the week. And I know, I think it was last New Year's Eve, right before New Year's Eve, there was an article somewhere that said, new tests, champagne in mice can prevent Alzheimer's disease. And I think champagne being a prevention the day before New Year's Eve sure seemed awfully convenient.
That's a little suspicious.
So like I said, a healthy body is a healthy mind, and we're still looking at
So do all these things we know are good for us.
Exactly.
And that can't be hurting our minds at the same time, as far as good nutrition, sleep, getting enough exercise, and so forth.
Maintaining a challenging mindset.
Challenging mindset, just the right amount of stress. Don't go crazy with stress. Don't be completely stress-free. Not good for you, right?
That's a good
Get a
way
little
of looking at
soft.
it, yeah.
Okay. So interesting. Well, but I know there are times when all of us forget where we put our keys. I think of it as this. If I forget where I put my keys, that's because I've got a lot going on. If I find that I'm putting my keys in the freezer, then that's a time to maybe get checked out. Is there anything to that?
That's your viewers can't see it, but I'm nodding. You're exactly right.
All right. Tell me the signs. What should we be concerned about?
So we actually, as the association, have an education program that we go out into the community and do called Know the 10 Signs. And I'll go through those real quickly. But I do want to say that the next local version of Know the 10 Signs, because Early Detection Matters, hosted by the association, is on Wednesday, June 28th. And that's at Mercy Medical Center. Again, that's Wednesday, June 28th. And really, all of our upcoming education programs, this one and others, are available at our local chapter's website, which you can get to via alz.org. So if you didn't catch that date, if you're driving and you want to find out more about Alzheimer's disease, alz.org is really the key that I want everybody to take away today.
And they will be talking about the 10 signs.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, let's briefly give people what those 10 signs are today.
And again, attending the education program is the best way to go through this, but real quick, we want people to know that memory loss is not a natural part of aging. But
say that again.
Memory loss is not a natural part of aging. But of course, like you mentioned, some people lose their keys. I'm 28 years old and I lose my keys.
I'm relieved.
But memory loss that disrupts daily life is a sign to look out for. Also, challenges in planning or solving problems. It's your brain's kind of showing it that's having more trouble because there's a disease going on there. Difficulty in completing familiar tasks. You mentioned that someone had been working in business their whole life and been supportive. Suddenly, they're doing something completely different. I know math teachers who have been wonderful at math their whole lives. Once they get the disease, suddenly something they've known forever is a little bit different. Confusion with place or time. Trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. Somebody with the disease might look at something like a cup that we all know and recognize and call it a fork and not really recognize that they miscalled it that.
Oh, okay.
And that leads into new problems with words or speaking and writing. Their brain's not able to connect the vocabulary word that they've always known with the visual image that their brain is interpreting.
Or just sometimes just words don't come out at all, just gibberish comes out. I recall hearing that from patients as well.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, and not every individual with these that start to show the 10 signs or have the disease are going to have every single one at the same exact time. It's really just signs to look out for, and then speak to your doctor about, because I don't know why, but we're all afraid to speak to our doctor about problems that could be there.
Well, you don't want the bad news on this one.
Exactly.
But flags to watch for.
Right.
Yes. Okay, what else?
Misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace steps. You used an excellent example of keys in the refrigerator. If you're misplacing your keys and they end up, it's because they're between the couch cushions or you left them in your coat pocket, that's one thing. If you're misplacing your keys because they're in the stove or in the refrigerator, or if you or your loved one, I should say, is starting to do that, that's really something to look out for. Decreased or poor judgment, gosh, don't we all have? We've all gone through that at some point in our lives, but it's definitely something to look for as you increase in age and as the other signs start to show themselves. Withdrawal from work or social activities, and that could be one of two things. That could be because the individual is starting to recognize that they're having troubles with their memory and they don't want to get kind of caught with it, or it's a function of the brain that they're just this kind of fun social side of them is changing a bit, and that's something that we're all scared to see.
Again, that personality change again.
And finally, like I said, changes in mood or personality is another sign as someone gets older that it's something to speak to your doctor about and really let them make the official determination.
Each of those seems very interrelated. Is there a difference between Alzheimer's and dementia?
Like I said earlier, dementia is the umbrella term. That is kind of the symptom. Alzheimer's is one of the causes of dementia. And we're actually in the process of reevaluating if we want to call it Alzheimer's disease or if Alzheimer's dementia is actually the best way to describe it, because there are other types of dementia. But the association, in addition to Alzheimer's, works with all types of related dementias under that umbrella.
This might be out of your wheelhouse because it would not be Alzheimer's, but what are other diseases that cause dementia?
Well, I think it's Lewy body dementia.
What's that?
It's kind of similar symptoms, but caused by a different effect in the brain.
Okay.
It's Jacobs-Feltsky dementia. And like I said, there are, I think, a handful of others in addition to Alzheimer's, but 60 to 80% of individuals with dementia fall under that first category. So, Robin Williams, I think, and I don't want to be quoted on that, but I think he fell under the Lewy body dementia, which resulted in more hallucinations and kind of paranoia than Alzheimer's usually shows. But
so other diseases affecting our brains in different ways, but Alzheimer's seems to be the one that's gotten the most press other than these other ones, or we just don't see as many people with those
it's like I said, 60 to 80% of individuals with dementia, that's Alzheimer's disease, right?
Okay. And those are unusual names. Were they named after people who discovered those?
Scientists that discovered them, I believe.
Interesting.
Certainly Louis Alzheimer, I believe, is the person who first discovered Alzheimer's in 1906, but it took some time for us to completely understand it. Like I said, memory loss is not a natural part of aging, but pretty recently, hardening of the arteries and senility are pretty common terms that we all still grew up with.
Yes, and the correlation there as well. If blood's not getting to the brain, it's not operating as well.
I mean, if you're living a healthy lifestyle, you're getting plenty of exercise, that your blood is going to be healthier, and that's what we're promoting.
What good advice can we give caregivers today? I know you mentioned that the support group is great, and to get together and just talk about it, you can find out that you're not in this alone. But are there some practical things that we can pass along? I remember one friend of mine labeled everything around her house while her father was living with them, and detailed instructions of basically how to function and get through a day. At the point that a person forgets how to read, that wouldn't work anymore. But for a long time, that's how he found where his toothbrush was and so forth, just by everything being labeled. Is that helpful? Are there some other helpful things?
Well, I would say that no two instances of Alzheimer's disease are the same. So that would work really well for that individual. But if they've have undiagnosed inability to kind of comprehend reading, or especially if it's small print, then every individual is different. I would recommend to every caregiver, if possible, to contact the association. We have a 24-hour helpline. Our example is if it's 3 a.m. on Thanksgiving and there's an emergency going on, you call 800-272-3900, and you will have a specialist on the other end of the line who will talk you through it and connect you with local staff where possible. We do answer the phones during the business day, but we have a national team to make sure that it's covered 24 hours a day.
That's great. Let's give that number again.
800-272-3900, and you can get more information on that at alz.org. We have online chat teams as well, so we want our resources to be available 24 hours a day. And by calling that number, 800-272-3900, or visiting alz.org, you can work with one of our local family service coordinators to schedule a care consultation, and they would really be the best person to walk you through how the disease is affecting the person early on and what little changes you can make, such as the notes around the house. For some people, that might make sense, and a care consultation is the best way to kind of walk and talk through that.
Sounds great. Tell me about Memory Day.
Memory Day is May 3rd at the Ohio State House, and registration is required. In addition to raising funds for research and offering services for caregivers, Memory Day is the advocacy side of what the association does. For every individual we help and for every dollar we raise for research, we can do a whole lot more by changing public policy that will affect lots of people all at the same time. And a lot of people who've been affected by this disease, they have a story they want to tell. So we have individuals from across the state of Ohio come to the State House and speak in scheduled meetings with nearly every legislator in the Senate and the Ohio House about how Alzheimer's disease has affected them and the importance of local policy that is respectful to caregivers, individuals with the disease, and how to make life a bit easier here in Ohio.
Okay, when you're saying advocacy, who are we advocating for, the caregiver or the patient themselves?
A little
everybody.
Both. Yeah, everybody. I mean, even individuals who don't have the disease. I mean, working with local legislators in the Ohio State House, we have awareness initiatives that will raise awareness of the disease if an individual sees their grandparents starting to show those Know the 10 signs. Some of those awareness initiatives can connect them back to resources that they need. So,
what kind of policy would you like to see changed?
Well, we are looking at, as an association, how to best plan for Alzheimer's disease here in Ohio. These numbers are staggering, and the association is getting really good at producing numbers, but we want to turn those numbers into action through volunteers, through public policy, and one of the ways we plan to do that is by working with fellow stakeholders on an Ohio State Plan for Alzheimer's disease. A lot of states across the country have a state plan devoted to this, and we're looking forward to working with, like I said, stakeholders on what that could look like if that's the right course for Ohio.
Go to alz.org for more information. Andrew DeFreitas, thank you so much for what you're doing in our community.
Thank you so much.